Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's video I'd like to have a look at a lovely high volume VSA setup that actually managed to nail the low of the day yesterday. This is Monday the 30th of April on the YM in particular. So I just want to step you through the logic here and just see if you can follow me here. What we always do, and this is what we teach, is before the day starts, in other words if I go back to before the day starts, we always put our DPs on our larger degree time frame charts to see where support or resistance areas are going to be. In other words, they're leading indicators, they're on there in advance, ready for you to be prepared. So this is a 15-minute chart of the YM. You can see we have the market coming up here, decline back down. So if I take a DP off this pivot here, you can see this projects out into the future and there. If I scroll forward, can you see how the market throughout the day came down? Oops. Came down. Just try and drag that across a bit. There we go. Came down here, almost hit this low, came back up again, but then just look where the low of the day, if I go towards the end, just look where the low of the day was, right in that area. Now remember, that was projected in advance before the day even started, so you were aware that there was a support zone on the YM, or a larger degree support zone there in advance. So the question being, what should you do as the market gets into it? And also what you could have done is, as the market started to go up here, you could have right mouse clicked off this bottom and also projected a smaller decision point target there, which as you can see came in at the bottom here. So you had double DP resistance coming in here at the low, which was around the 2:30 area. So that's the first point, is that you were prepared in advance from two different prior pivots that the YM was looking to make a low in about the 2:30 area, or not the 2:30 area, in this particular price zone here. So now let's go forward and have a look at the chart. And as you can see, the actual low unfolded here at 1436. But I want to go back and have a little look what's happening as the market gets down into this low here. If I just zoom in a bit to make it a bit bigger. Now one thing we like to look at is we like to look at, or I do for the VSA, our VSA setup, is I like to see bars that have wide range big bars like this that make new highs or new lows, and I like them to make significant new highs or significant new lows. So if I add a low tag to that pivot point there, can you see that this was the low of the day so far? That came off our 11:30 or 11:27 low. The market came down here, just played with that low, came back up, but it was this bar here that actually significantly went through it. So this went down. You can see our volume indicator here went red. This indicated it was a bar to look at and be wary of. Now normal standard technical analysis would suggest that this is selling because the volume was higher and we're making new lows. However, if we go forward one bar, you can see we get a blue buy bar and the market has failed to go to new lows. So what's happening there? Well, we know from our teaching at MTPredictor that this is an area where if the market then reverses at a support zone, so if we go back to here, put our decision point on, off this pivot, can you see how this was all happening right at our 3-minute decision point? Okay, so on our 3-minute chart, this was all happening at 3-minute support. Put this into context, and you remember we had our 15-minute support coming in from two different pivots there at the same time. So not only were you having support come in on your 3-minute, but you're also ready in advance for this being a support area, and you were ready for this area even before the market even opened yesterday. So this now tells us that this high volume bar here is not selling, it's actually buying. Now, in other words, the professionals are coming in here and buying this as amateurs are looking to sell it. So it's a great, what I call, fake out. Now when this happens, we normally get a very strong move to the opposite direction. So what I do is I go back to the prior pivot. The prior pivot is here. Now this was a very, very close pivot. So if I put the risk reward on in around this blue buy bar, at this first level here, it was plus 2.4R, but it was very, very close. Now when I'd look at this and say, well actually I wouldn't really want to play for this target, I'd expect this whole decline down here to be corrected. So I'd actually go back to the DP of this pivot and say, well, actually this is probably our main first target. So if I drag the risk reward up to there, you can see that my target is really 4.2R. So this sets up the VSA trade not only on our 3-minute chart, but remember we had our 15-minute support coming in here as well. And that was another reason why I was looking to come off this pivot, is because this would be our target on our 15-minute chart, which as you can see is around 1 o'clock. So if I go back to this chart, it equates to this pivot here, which is 1309. So that's why I'd like to use this pivot rather than this one, because of the larger degree pivot. Or expecting quite a strong move off this. Let's move forward. As you can see, we get taken into a long trade. It comes up, goes straight through this little minor pivot. We look at the STF. The STF is actually strong, and even when we get up to this stronger pivot up here, the STF is definitely past our strength band, therefore it is definitely strong. So it was not only strong at our first target, it was also strong at our main target. We then swapped to our ATR stop to trail it, which actually would have held us in right to the close of the day. So that would have been our profit as the day closes. So the end result of this was, if I zoom out a bit, it actually means, if I put the vertical session bars on, it actually means that's where the day started. So you were actually buying pretty much the low of the day, and you had a rally up here to sell, not quite at the high of the day, because that was the high of the day, but right at the end of this strong rally here. So there's a couple of points to take away from this. The first point is how we actually had these 15-minute support zones on our chart in advance. Remember, these were here before the market even got there. That then set up the potential support zone. So when this VSA setup here came in at this this low here, you had double confidence that this was going to be a low. And as such, this set up our long trade, which had you long off, well, the very bar of the low of the day to then catch the strong rally into the close. So a good demonstration here of some tools in MTPredictor, the advanced trade tools in MTPredictor. So not only were you looking at larger degree support, but also this VSA setup enabled you to have a very good trade, which resulted in a plus 6.4R profit. So a good example of the MTPredictor VSA trade setup here.